Hi everyone, it's Kim from Fleece and Harmony. Welcome to our knitting and crochet podcast. This is episode 123 and you're watching it if you're watching it on the day that it's been released. It's June 9th, 2023. So welcome to all of the folks that have been watching me for a while. We do have quite a lot of new viewers now, so I'll just do a quick introduction. This podcast is about knitting and crocheting and about our woolen mill. So I'm recording in our yarn shop that's in the woolen mill on the sheep farm that we own in Belfast, Prince Edward Island. So welcome to everybody. A little bit of housekeeping. I do chapters in the and segment notations down in the show notes if you want to look in the description of this video, and you can find the different sections. Also, if you're looking on some kind of a pad or the computer, I can't really see them on if you're looking on a TV, but there are chapters showing there at the bottom of the screen. If you move your cursor along the bottom of the video as well, you'll be able to see the different segments that we're going to do. So I'll just give you a quick rundown. We do live on a sheep farm, so I will talk a little bit about the farm as I do and what's happening around the area as I do in every episode. Usually after that, I would do a shop update, but today I'm not going to do a shop update. We're going to talk about all of the products in the different segments. However, there is a link in the show notes that says the collection for episode 123. And if you click on that link, you'll get a list of all of the products that we talked about from our shop during the different segments of the video. So I'm going to do that. I think it makes more sense to talk about the items in the context that we're using them. We will have a section where I sit with Betsy and we talk about our projects that we're knitting. We have a section with Simone, Simone talks about the projects that she's knitting on. And in this segment or episode, we are doing a special section in the mill called In the Mill, which we're going to talk about a yarn that we're designing together. So the three of us are going to sit and talk about the new yarn that we're going to be developing for Fleece and Harmony. So that should be really interesting. As always, I will end the episode with the harmony part, and the harmony. Maybe some people have not made it all the way to the end of an episode, but at the very end of the episode, I take a few minutes to kind of slow down. We show scenes from around the farm or around Prince Edward Island, and I try to pick a piece of music that goes with the video, and it's just a time to sit and relax and look at some beautiful scenery and listen to some beautiful music. And in today's harmony part, we have quite a lot of tulip fields here on Prince Edward Island, and Ken took a great video of one of the tulip fields around our farm. And they're not our tulip fields, but they're in the proximity of our farm. And we are going to relax and look at that. We're going to start today off with the farm update. There's not much to say about the animals. So again, if you're new here, we do have sheep on our farm, and they have been busy munching away because right now everything is growing super fast. The grass is really growing. So they're moving all over the farm and grazing. The big news around this area where we are in Eastern Canada is the forest fires. So it's been very dry in April and May, and things have really dried out. And in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, our neighboring provinces, there's been quite a lot of forest fires. So it's been very dangerous for fire. So our hearts go out to all of those people that have been displaced. They had to evacuate a lot of people from different areas from two different areas of Nova Scotia, and also in some parts of New Brunswick with forest fires. Luckily, the last 3 days we've been having rain, so that's finally giving the firefighters a fighting chance to get on top of these fires, and most of them are under control now, but there are still some that, as of this recording, have been still raging through the forests in Nova Scotia in particular. So we're really happy about the rain. We like to complain about the weather in the Maritimes, and usually what we're complaining about is cold and wet. But right now, we're pretty thankful for cold and wet. On Prince Edward Island, there was a lot of fear because there is so much downfall from Fiona, the hurricane, still in the forest and the woodlots, that if something had happened with a fire, it would have been devastating here. But we received a lot of rain in the last couple of days, and it's a good soaking rain. The farmers are also happy because they were also impacted just by the fact that there wasn't as much rain in the spring as we normally have. So they're happy because now all of the plantings and everything that are just starting to come up and emerge from the ground will have a nice soaking rain as well. And that's about everything that's been preoccupying us about the farm is really about the weather and the rain versus the sun. We've started to welcome visitors. So on Prince Edward Island, we have I think it's about 1.4 million visitors that come to our island over the course of the summer, and they start arriving mid-May. So for the last couple of days, the people that have been arriving for June might have been a little bit disappointed because it was kind of cold and wet. But everybody understands that that was good news in this instance. And but the sun is coming. So if you've been here and you're staying for a few days, then the sun has actually started to come out this evening as I'm recording this. So we're going to go to the sections with Betsy and Simone and in the mill. But before that, I would just encourage you to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. That really helps us with the algorithms from YouTube. I also mentioned that we do have a newsletter. So once a week on Fridays at 2:30 Atlantic time, I send out a newsletter about things that have happened in the shop and new products that we have. The newsletter subscribers do get a first shot at any new products that we bring into the shop. So there is an advantage to be subscribing to the newsletter. So you can do that from the home page of our web page. And down in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a place to subscribe to the newsletter. So I'd encourage you to do that if you're interested. I don't send out any other marketing emails other than the newsletter on Fridays. And in the newsletter, I do a little preamble about things that I'm thinking about in the last week. And then we do news about the shop there. Also for the YouTube viewers, if you want to click on your notifications and your notification bell, then you won't miss an episode as we release them every second Friday, also at 2:30 in the afternoon Atlantic time. So we're going to, I think we'll go and visit with Simone first in this episode. So we're going to head on over to talk with Simone, and she's got a lot of progress made with her Rioux shawl that's patterned by Jennifer Beale. She's made some progress on her pressed flowers shawl designed by Amy Christopher, and she also has a new pattern that she's releasing that some people have been waiting for, and she's going to do a short demonstration on using her knitting belt, the Makkin belt, that has been requested by some viewers as well. So let's pop on over and see Simone. Hi, Simone.
Hi, Kim.
How are you?
Good, and yourself?
Good. Long time getting here to this point.
Yes.
Today. It seems like a lot going on.
Yes, it has been a busy day.
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
And you've been busy.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, first of all, Simone doesn't have her regular output, but it's twice as much as what I have. Because you had a little thing removed from your wrist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were off for a week knitting?
I was.
Off of knitting for a week?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you still did more than I did. So we have a pretty exciting section to do with you today.
Yeah.
So what do you want to start with?
Your choice.
My choice?
Yep.
Oh, you're always saying that. Let's do the pressed flowers.
Okay, because there's less to show with the pressed
yes,
flowers.
there's less to show. This is what was sacrificed for resting your wrist.
Yep, that's right. So, and of course, I don't have it on knitting barber cords because I was knitting on it before the podcast started.
Yes, well, we were doing all of the organization and confusion of what we were getting ready. Simone almost finished the shop.
Not quite, but we're getting there.
I'll try to hold it.
I'll fold it in half, actually.
Oh, okay.
And that way people can see better the kind of color shifts.
Right.
So you can see it fades from like a green to teal, and then another green and periwinkle, and now we're going back into the blues.
Okay.
And yeah, this is a fun pattern.
We don't want to put it off the needles. So this is Pressed Flowers, the shawl by Amy Christopher.
Right.
And she's got, I think there's 3 or 4 more patterns: a shawl, a cardigan, a pullover, and a hat. So 5 altogether.
Yeah.
So if you like this effect, we talked about this before. This is 3 episodes we've been showing this one, I think
so.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a mosaic.
Right.
And it's much more impressive in person than it is in the pictures that are on Ravelry, I have to say.
Because the background is kind of like a waffle knit, and then the flowers are knit in stockinette. Right. So they're kind of flat, like pressed flowers.
Right. And you don't see that in the pictures. You wouldn't see it in any picture I would take either. So you just have to, but it has a really, like I said, it's more impressive in person than it is that when you could do any photography for.
And it's just so squishy.
Yeah, and I think the camera is so far away that I think if we even try to put it up closer, like, can you reach? You got your balls of yarn? You get a hold of them? Let's see. We'll give a chance for the producer saying, yeah, okay. So you have to trust us on that. Yeah. Oh, and I just took them off.
That's
okay.
Yeah. I should have stitch stoppers on them.
Oh, yes.
But, oh well.
All right. So so what you're knitting this out of is Rowan felted tweed.
Yes, thank you. And Rowan felted tweed color.
Right. So the background is stone, number 190. And the pressed flowers is jade, number 30, in the Rowan felted tweed color.
I'm amazed that you remember all of those numbers and the colors that correspond to them.
Yeah, well, not all of them, but I've got a good number of them under my belt. Because after doing Wallflowers,
I suppose.
Yes, I'm picking out colors and things like that. Then the purples get a little bit iffy because there's a lot of purples, and some of them are. But I can't remember what I had for breakfast, but for some reason these names are in my in my head. So that's it. So that's great.
Yep.
And before we even started talking about that, so we're done talking about that because she didn't really do too much,
like
because
2 rows.
Yeah, so she just has surgery on her wrist and had to
surgery,
but a little bit.
Yeah.
And then but took a whole week off
of knitting.
Yeah. Not a wimp, that's for sure. What are you wearing?
I am wearing Arboreal by Jennifer Steingass.
Okay, another Jennifer Steingass.
Yes.
With the shorter yoke though.
I knit it in DK, and I think it calls for a worsted weight yarn.
Okay.
So this is a Cascade Rosalyn.
Okay.
And it's just a wool with kind of silk and oil in it.
Oh yes.
It's got a little bit of texture.
Right. Okay.
And I really like that.
Yes. Nice. So this is a shorter yoke than what she was. Would this be an earlier
I think so.
design before she really went down in the extended yoke? So it's nice.
So it fits a little bit better.
Right.
Under the arms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Simone I've infected everybody with my ranting about the but that is the whole thing, is that the shorter yoke, there's no need to extend the armhole, but we won't talk about that because we've talked about it ad nauseum on different podcasts, but it's gorgeous.
I'm really happy with it. I knit it 3 or 4 years ago.
Right. Okay.
And it does get a lot of wear.
Yeah, it's lovely. And the neckline is a little bit different from, it's just like a very simple with an I-cord.
Yeah, I don't think it called for an I-cord. I think it was a rolled edge that she called for. And I decided to go with a contrast color I-cord.
Right. So now, was it applied or did you knit it on?
I did a provisional cast on and knit the sweater, and then I went back and did the I-cord edging.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So now that I have my very first I-cord under my belt in the Floral Bouquet Striped Shawl, I think I'm going to put an I-cord on everything.
They're fun.
They're fun.
Really fun.
And very effective.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you get this perfectly smooth edge.
Yes. Yeah, it's
like
great. So you know what the I stands for in I-cord? Do you know?
No.
Oh, okay. I actually forget who it is that
discovered it, but the knitter, I will put it under here because I'll find out.
Mhm.
Apparently, the legend is that she obviously had a sense of humor because it's so simple, but yet, some of the best ideas get discovered, and then everybody goes, well, why didn't I think of that?
Mhm.
So it's the idiot cord.
Oh, that's what I was thinking it was
Yeah.
going to be. But I didn't
Because
want to say it.
it's so simple, but very impressive.
Yeah.
So we'll just say the impressive cord. But
I like that.
apparently the
Yeah.
urban legend is that the I stands for idiot. So anyway.
Learn
Great.
something new every day.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I heard. I don't know if it's true. You guys can tell us if it's true or not.
Yes,
but,
we'd love to hear.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so something that is not an idiot project. Are you still saying that it's for advanced beginners?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so we're going to talk about Jennifer Beale's Rioux. And you did make quite a lot of progress on this.
I did.
And so for people that, we have a lot of new viewers.
Yes. Yes.
So welcome all you new viewers. And so people have been following this, or maybe this is your first podcast that you're looking at when we show this. You want to just explain, this is a Jennifer Beale pattern.
Mm-hmm. So this is Rioux. Sorry if we're saying it wrong. And it's a fun modular type shawl with wraparound wings. Looks very cozy.
I've showed a picture if I have here, or maybe I've already shown it.
And it's a mixture of lace and color work in our point prim sock.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just so squishy.
Yes.
I really like it a lot. You can see the other, like the opposite side here. So the color work is knit on the round. And I know I'm not giving away any secrets here because it is listed on the Ravelry, but the color work is done on the round, so you don't have to purl any color work. So it's the same front and back.
Okay, so now there's 14 colors in this shawl. And am I wrong in saying that there's the main color and then the other 13 are in the color work?
No, there's two main colors.
Okay. A darker gray, right?
Lighter for the wings.
Okay, lighter.
This pearl.
Okay.
For the wings.
And this one's a darker one.
Right.
So then 12 colors
yes
are in the color work band.
Yeah.
So you're really happy that you don't have to do purling with the color work.
Yeah.
Only 2 colors per row though, or are there some rows?
One row that has 3. It's the middle row there.
Okay.
But since you are knitting in the round, you don't have to worry about the floats.
Right.
So as long as your tension is okay,
yeah,
you just let them go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Great. You get to live dangerously.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you want to see the impressive amount of ends that these bands create, then you can look at our last podcast, podcast 122. But now there's no ends on this.
There's no ends. And she gives a wonderful little video on how to deal with your ends, which is a total game changer for this project. It's very simple, effective, and fast, which is nice.
Great. Okay. Yeah. So when you were explaining it in the last episode, I wasn't sure exactly how fast it was actually going to be, but it did save you a lot of time.
It did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically because these bands are in the round, they're actually like a little pillow, and all of the ends are just tucked in there in a special way that Jennifer Beale gives a video tutorial for.
Yeah, that's right.
So it is absolutely beautiful.
I'm really happy with this.
Yes. And did you block this?
I did a quick little steam block for the center because she recommended that, you block this portion before you go on to the color work.
Okay.
I haven't done a proper wet block yet.
Okay.
I'll probably wait until the project is finished.
It's looking really nice though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So now do you want to just explain a little bit about what's going to happen next?
What's going to happen next is 2 of these colorwork bands are going to be just held in reserve with these needles and stoppers. And then the other 2 will become the wings. So they're going to have little points that come out. So you'll start with a lace work portion. And then there's a few bands of color work and it gradually tapers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And you can see that in some of the pictures that I've shown by now.
Yeah.
And what was I going to say? So these colors, so again, I'll just repeat this because some people might be just joining us for the first time. This project was knit with yarn, a special edition yarn advent calendar. And I've put the name of the yarn company that made the original yarns for this pattern. But they came as a special advent calendar.
Right.
So we used our point prim sock yarn and made some new colors and matched colors that were the closest that we had in our regular catalog already to make a kit for this. So we have for sale a kit of these yarns to make the Rioux shawl. It's called the Rioux kit, and there's a link in the show notes about it if you're interested in that. And you have all of the right quantities to make the shawl without having to buy, and some of the colors are not available in our regular sock yarn except for in the kit. So if you want to make this and you want just the right amount of yarn to do it, then we do have a kit called the Rioux kit.
Yeah, and the kit is the way to go too, because trying to choose 14 different colors that all blend really well together is difficult.
Yes, trying to choose 14 colors even when you have a guideline of what the original design had was still not easy.
Right.
So for some people like me. So when Betsy and I were looking at the colors and trying to decide, obviously we didn't want to start everything from scratch, and we made a couple little slight changes, but if you make one little slight change, it can affect like 5 other colors because they all have to harmonize in the end. So what's your favorite part about this project so far?
So far, it's this little strip here.
Still.
I absolutely love it. Yes, because those colors I would never think to put together, and they just look so great.
She's talking about the blue and
the blues and the red and the orange.
Yeah. So the strip right after the purple.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah. Okay. So and we're going to talk a little bit. Betsy's going to join us, and we're going to talk about another little project that we're going to do, and which we've kind of started on. And some of the colors that were made for this that are exclusive in this shawl might make an appearance somewhere else.
Yes.
So
I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. Okay. So it's lovely.
Yeah, I'm really happy with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now reassure people about why you're calling it still an advanced beginner,
because
you
just need to get organized, take your time.
You want to show your basket?
And it is, you love this basket.
I love the basket.
So there's my basket.
Yeah.
So I just caked up the yarn, and every yarn cake has a little tag with the contrast color number and then the name. And that way I can kind of keep track of what I need. They're all in there. This is in color number 2.
Oh, okay.
It's getting a little crazy though, because there's ends and stuff.
Yes.
But yeah.
And how are the quantities working out?
They're working out well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it really helps a lot to tag your yarns with the contrast color number and name, because it'll just keep things a little bit more organized in your head. And as long as you're organized and take your time, you can fly right through this project.
Fly right through.
Yeah.
Simone's a super fast knitter. So, and I think that this is, you have to, if you have not knit a Jennifer Beale pattern before, we can absolutely guarantee that her pattern writing is impeccable because we've both knit her patterns, and Simone's knit a lot of her patterns.
Yeah.
Are you close to? Yeah, quite a few. Yeah,
few.
like 10 or so.
I think only 5, but we're getting
5.
there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. And and they seem. I mean, the fun of her patterns is the unusual construction, but you just have to be able to. If you have trouble following instructions,
then
she's
you
probably
could have some
not.
trouble.
Yeah, you're probably not going to want to knit Jennifer Beale. If you're like an intuitive knitter that doesn't like to let colors outside the lines, probably not.
Yeah.
For you,
yeah.
But if you're not an advanced knitter, but if you're an advanced beginner and you follow instructions, then you're not going to have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She explained everything clearly, and personally, I find part of the fun of her patterns is unusual, techniques, something that you wouldn't normally do in a project like this. So it's just, it's like the knitting Olympics.
Yes. they're really great.
Yep.
And you end up with a beautiful garment
Finished
or
project.
accessory that stands out because it is quite they're all kind of unique and not what you see every day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're fun.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that is not all you were doing.
No,
You actually did some designing.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
So
by popular demand.
yes, we have the Sweetest Honey Cowl.
Right.
And it's done in autumn birch and plover and our Selkirk worsted.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very, very squishy.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
It really feels nice. This is hot off the blocking mat.
Yeah.
She just finished it yesterday, I think, right?
No, I finished it a bit ago.
Oh, okay.
It didn't take me long to knit, but I blocked it on Saturday. And because it's been so cool and damp, it took forever to dry.
I'm sure I've already told everybody that now we're in
January.
January, but it's raining like crazy.
Yeah,
which we're not. We already know the story, but we're not lamenting the fact that it's raining. But it does take a while for knitwear to dry.
That's right.
I'm blocking my Floral Bouquet Shawl back there, so I'm not sure if I've got a fan on it.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it's going to be.
And it was Ken's first time pinning out lace edging.
Yes, he did it for me. I was busy with a customer.
Did it really well.
What a surprise.
Yep.
Yeah, so maybe he'll get that job all the time. Not my favorite thing. He's saying no.
No.
All right, let's talk about your design.
All right. Okay. So this is made to match the Sweetest Honey hat. Mm-hmm. And it's got the cute little bee motifs that I adapted from a vintage filet crochet pattern.
Yeah.
That I had in my
Simone
stash.
has magic scribblers.
I do have magic scribblers
with designs as kind of like your project idea books.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
I have scribblers full of graph paper that I doodle in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was one of the things that sifted to the surface.
Yeah.
And it's like an archaeological.
The hat really was kind of the catalyst for it because people saw the hat and they really liked it and they wanted a cowl. And mittens. I haven't gotten to the mittens yet. I don't know if I will.
Yeah.
But we have a hat and cowl.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. One step at a time.
That's right.
And the launch, this is the first that on Friday when this will be aired is the first time you're going to be launching it on Ravelry that day. Yes.
Yeah.
And for our viewers,
20% off with the coupon code BEEHIVE, BEEHIVE, all lowercase. Right. And that will get you 20% off.
And if you can't remember anything past 5 minutes, it's in the show notes.
Yep.
So everything is there. And the link to Simone's pattern.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So again, in Selkirk worsted, she obviously with the honey theme, she chose autumn birch and plover, but we've seen it already knit in a couple different colors too. So you can knit it in whatever color you want, but this is evokes the honey, obviously.
Yeah, and we had a lovely customer in today that picked Fox and Kits and Fiddlehead.
Yes,
for these projects. So
yes,
it was. I'm curious to see how it turns out.
Right.
I think it'll be lovely.
So, what would we had a long discussion, her and I, about if the Fiddlehead should be the background and the Fox and Kit the motif, or the opposite way. So, if you had to pick one.
I always like the kind of hand painted in the background and the solid color. That's my preference. So
that's
Fiddlehead
what she said
would be
too.
back here, and then up here Fiddlehead would be the little line.
Okay, so Susan, you were right. Because I was like, I don't know. I would put so tell me again. You would do.
So I would put Fiddlehead as the plover.
The plover. Okay.
And then the Fox and Kits would be the autumn birch.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's what she's saying.
Yeah.
In this particular pattern, it's kind of hard to say what is the background because it switches.
It does.
So this is the plover is the background down here, but the autumn birch is what I would call the background on the top.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a toss up.
It is. But what I did in the pattern is I noted which one was which, just so that, if you need a quick reference.
Right.
Keep track.
Right.
And it's in the chart legend as well.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. Okay. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes, and I have to say I love these close. Well, I'll call it a close cowl.
Yeah.
They're just so they're just so
snuggly.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, they are kind of a selfish knit
Yeah.
because I like a close cowl and I like something that I can pull over my hood
Right.
because I walk a lot or run a lot in the winter. So
Yeah.
Keep cozy.
And you've got a generous length with
Yeah.
this too, so you can snuggle it
Pull
up
it right
around
up to
your
here.
yeah, around your ear. So there you have it.
Yep.
You guys asked for it. Here it is.
Here it is.
Thanks, Simone.
Thank you.
Okay. And do you have anything else over there? I think that's it.
That's it except for the Makkin belt.
Yes.
Yep.
So a couple episodes ago, somebody asked a couple more questions about the Makkin belt. So Simone has brought her Makkin belt with her today. And you want to make a couple disclaimers before we
Yes.
we're going to do a little demonstration on the Makkin belt.
Yeah.
Don't write. She's going to tell you what she's doing. So go ahead and do your
keep in mind that I am not an expert. I am just learning this myself.
Yeah.
And I am left-handed. So the belt is going to be on the opposite side to what you would usually see with like Shetland knitters.
A right-handed knitter.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So it may look wrong. That's because I'm left-handed.
Well, you're not wrong. It's the opposite. I
Yeah.
like that you said it's on the opposite side.
Yep.
Right or wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see.
The belt?
Yeah.
All right. Ooh, I got a tangle.
And I'd actually never heard of the word Makkin. So is that like a Scottish
know.
Gaelic term?
I don't know.
Okay.
My friend Liz was the one that mentioned that it's called a Makkin belt.
Okay.
And she was the one that got me into it. And we're having great fun.
Yeah. She's learning too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's using fingering weight
Okay.
for her projects.
Okay.
And I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I don't have enough patience for that yet.
So just explain a little bit about the belt.
Okay. So it is a belt. You know,
It's leather. It's beautiful. It's actually a piece of lovely.
Yeah.
I'm all about tools and quality tools, and it is actually beautiful.
Yeah, it's well made too.
Yes.
So it's leather with a suede back here, and it just clips around your waist, has a little buckle, and there's multiple holes on the belt. I'll hold it up so you can see, and you'll notice that they're all different sizes. So you find a hole that is the appropriate size for the needle that you're using for your project, and you choose which hole that you want to use to hold that needle. You can see which ones I've been using the most.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just kind of adjust everything that way. The needle is held out at an angle and you're knitting off the tips, which is kind of fun. And it makes me wonder if that is the reason why there's kind of a gauge difference between European designers and North American.
Oh, because they're tighter?
Yeah.
Because they're knitting on the tips.
Yeah.
Or originally knit on the tips.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to put it on? And then we'll edit like the parts out. So you'll appear back here.
Oh, just like that. And most of the time I don't even clip it through. I just kind of.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Great. So you're ready to go.
Yep.
Okay. And you use long pins.
Yes.
We'll call them pins since we're talking about traditional knitting because that's what they call them.
So I've got a nice mess going here.
So they're 14 inches?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I had to think about it there for a minute.
So 14-inch double pointed needles.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Nice.
And I don't know, can you see down here? Yeah. So you just insert like that.
Which I was surprised about because I thought they stuck in.
Yeah.
Like then they would be coming out here, but it's actually not. It's going in under the leather in the hole. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And gotta decide which.
So you're using 3
where.
Needles.
Yes.
Okay. And is that the traditional way to use it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's not a ton of.
Do you want me to hold the yarn for you?
No, it's
or
okay.
You're okay?
There's not a ton of videos out there, it seems, to instruct a person how to use these. Hazel Tyndall has one, and I just watched that a couple of times and then started experimenting.
Okay.
So I'm going to put them on the floor here. I should say Selkirk worsted, and this is rose hip and pine cone.
Right.
Yep. There we go.
All right. And is this how you knit at home? You put them on the floor?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ken is trying to adjust the video, but I'll zoom in on different sections.
All right.
So does it need to be okay?
So I'm not super fast at it either. It takes a little bit of practice.
Okay. So do you want to zoom? Do you want to come closer, Ken? Okay. So can you explain just a little bit how you're doing that? So you're maybe not, you're saying you're not super fast, but I can't even see you. So you're just knitting like you would as if you were holding two needles.
Mm-hmm.
Only one of them is attached.
Right.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be really great for people with, arthritis and things like that. It's a little bit easier on the hands.
Why is that? Because you're not holding
the support of the needle on the belt. And something Hazel Tyndall also recommends is putting a string through the end of your project once you get a couple of inches and attaching that to your belt as well, so that it doesn't drop too far.
Oh, cool.
You can actually stand up like they used to do in Shetland and knit and walk.
Right. So they used to just knit all the time.
Yeah.
If they weren't doing something with their hands. So walking somewhere, going shopping, whatever, they were knitting all the time. So this offered support.
Right.
And I think there may be pictures have you heard of the book People Knitting?
No.
Oh, okay. So it's a great book that we carry that has pictures of people knitting, but it goes all the way back, like history, and it I'm going to grab it because I can see it right there.
Okay.
I'll just stop this for a second.
Well loved.
So this is my copy of People Knitting, and we're just laughing because we had this book when we had remember when we had Paige the rabbit living in the shop?
Yes.
Well, Paige, this is her favorite book. So she chewed all the outside. So I think that there's pictures of, if you haven't seen this book, I just love it because I like historical pictures, and it goes through time, and it just shows pictures of people knitting. So while you're demonstrating that, I'm going to just go over here and talk. So if you want to say what you're doing exactly.
I am just doing some 2 colorwork knitting, and I'm holding one color in this hand, one color in this hand, because I like to do the 2-handed color work, and just knitting along.
So it's not really, it's more the positioning of the knitting that's different. It's not that you're really doing anything different than if you were holding your needles in 2 hands. Is that right? Or am I wrong?
For the most part, yes.
Okay.
Turning the corner is a little bit interesting.
When you go to the other needle. No knitting on the belt. But we'll take a picture of you close up with it. Yeah, you're pretty fast. You're pretty fast. Okay, so is there anything else that we should talk about with this? And
I don't think so.
Can you do knitting flat with it?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, but you're just knitting in the round so far.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because knitting flat would technically be easier, so obviously you need to jump in the deep end.
Okay.
And do color work in the round.
Yes. Just because why
that's
not?
The way the brain works.
Right. Okay. So we're just gonna stop here, and we'll just take a couple little close-up videos of you, and then we'll that good? Okay. Lovely. And this is, if you're wondering what she's making, she doesn't know yet. It's something else from the Scribbler.
Yep.
So we'll wait to see what it is. We're going to see it in the end, I hope.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Definitely.
All right. So the very first pattern that Simone did on these needles is Spring in the Makkin.
Right.
So that is on Ravelry. And I think you did 2 colors, right?
I did.
Yeah. But you're only showing pictures of one on Ravelry, I think. Anyway, it's another motif.
There should be 2.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Great. So if you want to see the very first pattern that Simone did with the Makkin belt, it's called Spring in the Makkin, and it's a little toque. It's beautiful. And so we'll find out what this one is later.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I think that's it.
Yep.
Okay. So, talk to you later. Okay. Bye.
Well, that was great. We got to see a close up of the Makkin belt in action, so that's really great. And how happy are we that she's done the sweetest honey cowl? And so you can use the discount code. Usually she puts the code for 2 weeks, I think, but it does expire. So if you missed the code during the segment, I am listing the code in the description below as well. I just realized that I forgot to talk about what I'm wearing, so I'm going to do that now. So this lovely, beautiful shawl is called Purple Hibiscus. I have the designer below because I forgot to look up the designer. This shawl is made from Eldon lace, and this is the Amethyst Brooch color. So Eldon lace is the lace weight yarn that we spin here at Fleece and Harmony, and it was knit by a lovely, lovely customer, Nicole. And she knit the store sample for us. So it's just a beautiful, she's a beautiful, beautiful shawl knitter. She knits a lot of other things as well. She's very prolific, and we feel very honored that we have this shawl to have displayed in our store to show off our Eldon lace yarn. And if you're wondering what this little floral button is, this is actually a floral closure by Jewel Designs. So we carry these in our shop, and it's meant to be worn with knitting, and it has a little screw on the back, and you just put the button, the closure in through your knitting, and then you just screw the screw inside, and you've got this little nice pin. It's not really a pin, but it's I guess it's like a button, but you don't need a buttonhole, sort of. So they do come in this beautiful floral design, and this is the small one. It's a 0.9 of an inch in diameter. There's also a bigger one, which is 1.5 inches. So it's about the size of, if anybody Canadians would know, the size of a toonie. So it's about that, the $2 coin that we have. They also come in leather, so we carry the leather ones as well, and it's just fantastic for a very light shawl like this, where a shawl pin might be too heavy, or you just want a little bit of stability for when you're styling your shawl. You can also use them as buttons on knitwear on a cardigan if you wanted to as well. So this is, again, the Jewel Designs. I'll have a link to that in the show notes, but you can find it by searching on our website as well if you're interested in those. Now we're going to pop on over and see the discussion that I've had with Betsy. Betsy's got a few projects that she's going to update us on. She's got a new hat that she's worked on, and she started new crochet projects. So we'll hop on over there, and in the section with Betsy, I will talk about my Floral Bouquet Striped Shawl that I'm doing, that is designed by Studio Mitsuko and knit in Selkirk worsted, and it's an assigned pooling shawl. So we'll hop on over with the segment with Betsy. Hi, Betsy.
Hi, Kim.
How are ya?
Good.
Good.
It's been so long.
I know.
I'm not sure where this one's falling in the segments.
I actually don't know either, so I'm going to try not to repeat myself. So because that's what I tend to do. Because every time I sit with somebody else, we start talking about
some of the same
so
things.
I don't know where it's going to be. But
if I say something you've already talked about, just cut me off and be like, "Been there, done that."
Okay. Covered that.
Covered it.
Covered that. Okay. So, what have you been up to for the last 2 weeks?
Staying indoors a lot.
Yes.
Well, not 2 weeks. Maybe it's only been 2 days. But
yes.
It's felt like 2 weeks.
Yes. So in the farm update,
yes,
I talked about the fact of the forest fires over in Nova Scotia and in New Brunswick, and the fear that everybody had here that if a fire started here with all of the tree fall and stuff from Fiona, that would be a pretty unmitigated disaster. So we were praying for rain, and it has rained a lot.
Yeah. Especially
lot.
the last 24 hours.
Yes,
Yeah.
heavy rains. And now I've started to come in and say to Betsy, is it okay to wish for sun yet? Or do you think we're done?
Do we need a little more saturation?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're pretty good, but we
Yeah.
can't really, without we can't wish for sun with a clear conscience.
No.
It's one more day anyway of rain, I think.
Part of it is our summer season is so short. And I
Yes.
know we need the rain to like keep things growing and such, but because
Right.
our summer season is so short, when we have a few days run of rain, it can feel like it's like stealing from that precious time. So
yes.
if you want to go biking or walking or hiking or
Right.
beaching,
Yeah.
none of like, yeah. So for me, I got a new bike.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm like wanting to get out on my new bike,
Right.
but it's been pretty awful. And I know there's some people who would go ahead and bike right through it, but
Mhm.
I'm not that kind of a
Yeah.
biker. I'm not that
Simone's still been
dedicated.
running.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, in the pouring rain.
On purpose.
Yes, on purpose. Yes.
Oh.
So everybody got a big kick. I don't know if it's picturing us running
Or
or what. So I have to report that I have not run. I ran one other day for chores.
okay.
Yeah, but I haven't made it part of my regular routine.
Well, with the slushy smooshy ground and the
Yeah.
wet, I might advise
Yes.
that maybe it wouldn't be a great idea. You don't want
Right.
to twist an ankle as we head into summer.
Right. And
Yeah.
we're trying to, I think I mentioned in the last podcast that the lawnmower broke. The deck actually came off the lawnmower.
Yes.
And we still haven't sorted out a new lawnmower. So now
So
the
who
grass
knows?
is getting pretty long.
Yeah.
So-
What's hiding in that bush?
Well, it's more like tripping potential.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but we're here to talk about knitting.
Yes, we
You
are.
always,
That's
you
right.
usually remind me. Are we
Yeah.
going to talk
Will we
about
talk
knitting?
about knitting? Yeah, we will.
So I have nothing to show live,
Okay.
but I'm going to talk about my Floral Bouquet Striped Shawl
Gorgeous.
because it's on the blocking. It's still on the blocking mat, and it's not quite dry.
Which will blame the weather again. Because
Yes.
if it was bright and sunny, we could have put it out in the sun this afternoon and it would be dry.
Yes,
But
exactly.
instead, we got the fan going.
Right, and it's almost dry, but I don't want to take off all the pins and everything and the knit blockers until it's perfectly dry, or else I'm just going to have to block it again. So that's, but we'll talk about it and I'll show a picture.
Beautiful.
So at some point you might get covered up a little bit when
That's
I talk
okay.
about it.
No
and then-
worries.
Okay, but Betsy's been busy.
I have. So I'm
Right.
continuing on my hat saga.
Right.
So this one is for me. So far you've seen, the first one was my youngest daughter's.
Mhm.
Last week or last time was my oldest daughter's, and this one's for me. So very much my colors.
Right.
Kim's favorite.
Betsy's been like going on about these colors for at least 4 weeks.
I saw them. So this is the fun thing about the dyeing. You dye the yarn, but then it has to dry. And to dry it, we hang it in our windows on
Right.
hangers. So sometimes odd combinations will end up hanging in the windows together because you're not actually necessarily doing a project with those. But other times, combinations get hung in the window and my heart just goes, oh my goodness, I need to do something with that.
Right.
So this
was
was
one of them.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
it's lupin for the pinky part here.
Yeah.
The
The variegated
background
green. Yeah.
is sea spray.
Yeah.
And then it has just a little touch of sand
Right.
that wraps around from the bottom for
Right.
my rolled hem. So construction of this one is very similar to the last one I
Mhm.
made. I did a rolled, nice big rolled hem, so you
Yeah.
call it, hem on it. That is my new favorite ribbing is 2x1. So
Right.
2 knit, 1 purl.
Right.
I'm really liking the look of that.
And when you're doing it, you start it with the sand.
Yep.
Just did enough that you knew you were going to just have a little edging
Yes.
on it.
Fold
Then
it
switch
over.
to the- yeah.
And I actually do like a row where I continue in pattern. So I attach it by doing the knit. I leave the purl just on the one and don't grab both layers.
Mhm.
And then, oh, my hair's coming off in it. And that seems to work pretty well. I'm liking that just fine.
And is this another motif from the Selbu
Selbu patterns.
patterns?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
this one is actually not as geometric as most of them are.
it's not. It's
Yeah.
more, it's kind of like a daisy look.
Right.
So I was thinking about hats here and I was like, oh my goodness, making a hat this time of year. And then I realized I'm still putting on my toque every morning at 7 a.m. when I
Because
walk
it's
the dogs.
January.
It's January. And then
Yeah.
I was like, what months do we actually not wear a hat?
Right.
Well, we kind of pull the hats out by mid-September again. I was like, it's July and August. You
Yeah.
could have a hat for
Yeah.
every month of the year
Yeah.
around here.
Yeah.
Depending on what time of the day. I'm not wearing a toque at 3 in the afternoon.
No. But bright and early in the morning,
Yeah.
it can still be pretty frosty.
And I have sensitive ears.
Oh. So
I
what
don't-
would you say? Oh, muffin.
Muffin.
Yeah.
I don't like when the wind blows like past my ear or into my ears. I can actually end up with a headache following that.
Okay.
So that's just always been for a long time. So
All right.
I wear the hat
Muffin.
less for warmth and more for wind block.
Right.
I used to, as like a preteen, refuse to wear hats. I didn't
Right.
care if it was -40.
Okay.
I would only wear those little
Headbands?
headband
Yeah.
things because I didn't want to ruin my hair.
Oh, of course
Oh,
not.
jeez.
Yeah.
Vain.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the hat. So, of course, I have my button-on pom-pom, so I
Mhm.
can unattach it because when I want to wash, I don't want to ruin my beautiful pom-pom.
Right.
So it has the button, I don't know which
Snap.
part of that, the snap
Yeah.
on here, and then you sew the other part to your hat. And so you can just...
Yeah. The outie part
the outie.
is on the hat,
And
and
the
the innie part is on the pom pom. Right.
Yeah.
So these are faux fur.
Yes,
Here we
of
have
course.
them in the.
Yes.
Oop, we
Whoops,
carry them in the shop, and you can order them online as well.
What
I mean,
colors?
I think I called it light brown.
Okay.
Very
Sounds good.
very creative.
And then
We have charcoal,
charcoal.
silver, white with black tips.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, and then we have a couple of another type that are I'm calling it dark brown, and they actually have a string that goes through, and you push up a little thing to keep it, but they're all removable.
You can still,
you
remove
can
it.
still remove
Nice,
it.
yeah.
So we have them, but it's really
So
nice
I
one.
chose this one because it goes beautiful with the sand.
Right.
And my winter parka, as Kim calls it, I love that parka, is trimmed with the faux fur around
Yes.
the hood that looks like this.
Exactly like
So
that.
my only moments of hesitation sometimes is that I don't get mistaken for a coyote.
Well, it's better to be mistaken for a coyote than it is to be mistaken for a rabbit.
Oh, well then I think I'm
For
okay.
the coyotes.
If someone is worried about a rabbit walking like
Yeah.
5.5 feet in the air.
I mean, for the coyotes. The coyotes would you thought you were a rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm not being hunted by coyote. I'm not
Yeah.
actually scared of the coyotes.
No,
We'll
but
clarify that.
we're lucky here because we have coyotes, and you have to lucky. All the sheep farmers are going because
Yeah.
they can be pretty bad on sheep flocks if your electric fences are not strong enough. But the good thing about the coyotes here is actually that they're still the size of regular coyotes.
Yeah, they're not
So in Nova
massive.
Scotia and some of the western areas in Canada, they have I think it might be a hybrid
Yeah.
between wolf and coyotes that they call coy wolves.
Okay.
We don't have those here.
No.
But they have them in
Yeah.
Nova Scotia. The big ones.
I don't know. Yeah.
Ours are
That
kinda
would make me a
skinny.
bit more nervous. Ours
Yeah.
are still pretty like lean looking. They look like I could take them if
Yeah.
they decided to go after me.
Yeah.
Which,
And they're pretty skittish.
yeah,
really,
they're
around
not. They
people.
don't. So the only sort of like interaction I had with one, so to speak, was I went to walk the dogs one morning, and there was a fella sitting in the middle of the field, and quite frankly, I think this was late winter. I think he was having a tough winter, so I
Oh,
don't think he was
okay.
feeling so
Okay.
energetic.
Yeah.
So we would get and basically we could get within about 100 meters, and then he would move another 100 meters.
Right.
Usually they'll take off, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't get to see them. But I think this poor fella had a hard winter.
Okay.
So I was actually feeling a bit bad for him and trying to be like, just go. We don't
Yeah.
really want to disturb you. Anyway, back to the hat.
Yeah.
Oh. So this goes with my coat. What I was saying, what I did different this time. So I did the rim or the hem or the cuff, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
and then did the chart, and I did it twice over. And what actually surprised me is when these two colors were hanging in the window, when they're solid side by side
In
in their
skein,
skein, they looked, I would say, quite contrasty.
Right.
I would have called it at least a medium to high contrast,
Right.
but you knit it up,
Yeah.
and it's a low contrast. I
Mhm.
still really like it, but the flower is definitely more
More muted.
subtle than I
Yes.
was expecting.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what I changed from the last one is this time when I went to do the decreases, I did a little bit of decreasing, but I went back to that 2x1 ribbing pattern.
Okay.
So I just find that also helped because at the top you want that rapidly to come in.
Right. Okay.
And
So did you do the same number of decreases, but it just is coming
Yes.
to a point quicker?
quicker, yeah. And
okay.
just, I feel like it looks less bunchy and
Right.
more purposeful, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I also think too, I went a little longer for myself because when I tried my daughter's on, she said, I think it has to be a bit longer for you, Mom, just because of where like my head shape, you want the slouch to fall. I'll put it on. You want the slouch to fall in the right spot. So for me, I added a few extra. Let's see if I can get this snapped back on.
The fur is all
The
around
furs,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we're
So
talking.
Betsy tried this on for us this afternoon, and I have to say, you got the slouch thing down pat.
Of course, you want to flip that back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it needed to come down a bit because hers, the pom pom was sitting like it was bouncing off the back of my head, which wasn't quite right.
You want it kind of just at the bottom
yeah,
of your
kind
skull.
of at the base of your skull.
Yeah.
I think anyway. That's my view of it.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, I really like it.
Good. Yeah. So you've got one more to do.
Yes, I have to finish my husband's. It
He
shouldn't take as
designed
long.
his own.
He did. I have started it. I have run into a few little things here and there.
Okay.
I think I said last time that he was following the rules about not having too long of floats.
Mm-hmm.
That's a complete and utter lie. You'll see it next week. Come
Okay.
back to see what he did.
Oh, okay.
He is not following that rule at all.
So you're going to have to catch floats in between?
Yes, which is
Okay.
also posing an interesting challenge that we can discuss next time.
Okay. Great.
So then that'll be my series of family hats.
Right.
Complete.
And if you're watching us for the first time, we will repeat that Betsy so far is not doing these to make a pattern. She's doing them because she's creating for herself.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens after. But
We'll see.
There's not a pattern.
Not
this.
for this.
She's just taking she's using the Selbu pattern book, which we carry here, and like a stitch dictionary. Well, it is technically a stitch dictionary. Coming up with the motif that she wants, and then knitting a generic hat
that I just kind of actually make as I go because I try it on whoever I'm making it for. That's how I decide on the number of stitches because I actually I put it on my TBK cords.
Right.
And then I can test to make sure that it's the right size. Right. And if not, I pull it out and start over.
Yes. Okay. So we'll see. So I think that, you're creating a recipe for yourself more so than a pattern.
So I was chatting with Simone because she has offered very kindly to help me put it together as a pattern if I want. So it's not that no one's offering me help or anything. I just haven't sat down to do it because writing up a pattern, I think I've said this before, it's very different than the actual creative process. You have to get quite technical if you want someone to be able to reproduce what you made.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Great. And now you have a new crochet project.
I do have a new crochet project going on. So it's not a whole lot to show at the moment, but hopefully Kim can get a picture up somewhere.
Yeah, well, to put it on the table, and I'll take a picture after we record.
Sounds good.
So that we can see
these. Yeah.
So you'll see pictures, so don't panic if you're not seeing because it's in black.
Yes.
It's crochet in black, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to show.
Yeah. So I'm doing it's by a designer called Outstanding Crochet, and it's a bag pattern essentially that she's created in overlay mosaic crochet.
Okay.
Which I had done the Karina shawl to kind of get a taste of this mosaic crochet thing to see what it's like, which is it's basically color work in crochet. And then I quickly finished that one up because the real goal was to get to this one.
Okay.
So this is just the base of the bag. That's all, which is actually an optional part in the pattern. You can skip it and just have a bag that is
flat.
Okay. If you want.
Okay.
But I like roomy bags.
A square bottom.
Yeah, because if I'm going to have a bag, I'm going to stuff it full.
Right.
So this is the bottom part, which you do in the same setup as you would if you were doing overlay mosaic. So what I've learned is it eats up a lot of yarn. I was surprised at how much. And I think part of that is, if you can maybe see it or not, we'll take pictures.
We'll take a picture.
So there's all these kind of ridges here.
Right.
So with the mosaic crochet, you do one row that's single crochet, and then you do the next row is double crochet, but it happens only like you make like half the progress.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So you're
Not
kind of
really,
like
but I'm sure for the crocheters they understand.
so you're yeah. So because you end up crocheting into the back loop only of the single crochet,
Oh, okay.
and then the next time you go down into that front loop.
Okay.
So you're only progressing a half a row.
Oh, so that's how
the
the ridge then
happens.
hits it. Okay.
Yeah. So what's showing on the outside is flat and smooth, but then you hide that in the back. And the reason you're doing that is because when I actually get to the part where I'm doing color work, the color I don't want to be showing will be hidden behind that.
Okay.
I don't actually know exactly how this is all going to work. However, she has like, I went to print the pattern, a pattern for a bag, 46 pages. So trust me, the instructions are there. Not a problem.
I have to say this because we'll put the name of the pattern
Sure.
and the designer
Below.
below. But when we were looking at how much yarn Betsy had to get for the bag, it was so complicated. we weren't sure we were.
Yes.
I mean, we finally figured it out.
Yeah.
But I was like, "Holy smokes! Good luck, Betsy."
Yeah, and that
because
was
it's
just on the Ravelry introduction page.
Yeah,
So once
exactly.
you got into it, there's tons of information. She's got YouTube tutorials for like every new little technique
Right.
that you have to do.
right.
So I'm very confident that I will be able to do this, and all the information is there. It's just I've been working off some recipes more
Right.
so lately, so it's
Right.
interesting to dive back into a more Jennifer Beale style
Right.
pattern.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
multiple steps and
Yeah.
techniques and things like that.
Exactly.
So, and that's all fine as long as the designer kind of holds your hand through it. So
Yes.
it sounds like she's doing that.
Yeah, so far.
Right,
So
okay.
like, yeah, I think I've already had 2 video tutorials for the bottom of the bag.
Right.
So
right.
yeah,
So this is the inside of
that's
the bottom,
inside. Yeah.
and you're doing this in Selkirk worsted.
Yes.
Yeah. So
And I'm using, I think I ended up with a 3.5 millimeter because I do want to
Hook.
keep it, or hook,
2.5 millimeter hook.
yeah.
Yeah.
because I want to keep it fairly tight.
Yes.
Because it's a bag, you don't want
Right.
to stretch. And I was worried about that with the wool because wool is quite stretchy. And then I realized you line the whole thing.
Oh, do
So
you?
I'm
Okay.
going to choose a fabric. Probably I'll use something that's closer to a canvas or a twill.
Okay.
It has almost no stretch to it whatsoever.
Okay.
So then
Because
I
the design is, I mean, outstanding.
Mhm.
I've showed a
Yeah.
picture of it by now. I mean, it's really something.
Yeah.
It's a showstopper.
and I wouldn't want it to like stretch or twist
Right.
out of shape.
Right.
So yeah,
What was the original yarn that she knitted in? Was it like a cotton or a linen? Or?
cheap cotton blend
Yeah,
of some
cotton.
sort. I think.
So
Yeah.
that's-
So that
yeah.
would help. Although I've worked with cotton, and it can sometimes really soften up,
Yes.
which is
right.
great for garments. But I want this to stay.
And you've got a
Yeah.
liner, like you said, anyway.
Well, I'm going to
So,
make one.
Yeah, because some people might be screaming, "Why are you making it out of wool?" But if you have a line,
I'm putting a
liner.
liner, and because I just love our yarn.
Yeah.
Really, it
And
kind of
I
comes
think
down
you
to
can
Yeah.
you can also use this pattern to make a pillow, right?
yes, you can.
Yeah. So it you, I
Either
mean,
or.
yeah.
And if you had it as a pillow and you actually like wanted to have, your Sunday afternoon delicate rest
Siesta.
on it, I don't know if I'd let anyone actually put their face on it. Not
Yeah.
at my house. But yeah, then it would
Yeah.
it would have that soft, nice.
I
feather
have to
texture.
say it's very satisfying. This
Yeah.
fabric
Yeah.
is very, but you can see. Well, I've taken pictures.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's that. All of that is kind of just going to get. hidden
So this is not a color that's used in your bag,
in.
though.
No, it is not.
This is the base of it.
So some of you might recall that back when I started the Lady Cordelia, I wanted to do a very low contrast. So I did a pearl, which is an extremely light gray, with Mayflower even lightened a bit more, which is an extremely light purple. It didn't work.
Right.
So today we have spruce, which is my new favorite color.
I
I get a
know,
new
it's
favorite
really
color
nice.
in here every week.
Yes.
Combined with the Mayflower.
Right.
So I have not swatched this yet.
Okay.
Even though I just said that you should because it can make a difference.
Right.
But I am very confident this will be enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it should be very.
Yeah.
And I know people have suggested before you can take the picture and put it in black and white, and that'll tell you if it's. But I think this is kind of a no-brainer. It's very
Yeah.
high contrast. So
Also, thank you to Joanne and Knit Night for
yeah.
these beautiful cakes that I
Yes.
have done up. Not that she did it for me, but she lent me her
She's got a
what do
really
you call
nice
that? The
Yeah,
Swift.
Swift.
Or does it have a generic name, or is Swift what it's
No,
called?
it's a Swift. That's
It's a
what
Swift.
it's called.
Okay.
She's got a beautiful wooden Swift
Yes,
and you didn't use her fancy
I
ball
was
one.
I did for the first one.
She's got a beautiful wooden
yeah.
hand.
And then I just switched to because I wanted it to that one was I went to anchor it to the table and it felt complicated. So
Oh.
so her I don't know which brand it was, but
Yeah.
like a plastic
Yeah.
one that just
Yeah.
whoops clamped onto the table.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. She wasn't nos to pinning it because
No,
she had a few balls
yeah.
to do.
Yeah, and it's a great knit night activity.
Yeah,
It's pretty
exactly.
hard to mess up kicking
Yeah.
yarn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so this looks like a pretty ambitious and interesting project.
Yeah. My plan is to not do it too quickly. I actually want to like pace
Right.
myself so I can enjoy it. And because I'm putting a significant amount of yarn into it,
Right.
I don't want it done next week. I want
Right.
it to last a
Yeah.
little bit.
Okay, great. So I am going to talk about my floral bouquet shawl
Yes.
because the next step is to choose a little bit of a crochet edging like we
Yeah.
talked about it the last time.
Right.
So I don't have it here with me because it's still on the blocking mat because it didn't dry enough.
Next time you can wear it.
I will wear it the
Nice.
next time and it will have the edging on it. So I actually finished it and I will give the photographic proof that I actually finished it. I worked late into the night last night, at least 10:15 before I went to bed.
I totally thought you were going to say 2:45. And
No.
then you're like 10:15.
Yeah. Because I wanted to finish the lace part, which I did. So technically, as far as the pattern is concerned, it's a finished object. The ends are even sewn in and everything. Did I talk about that at the last podcast?
A little bit. You just
There isn't
reassured us
really
there
any
wasn't
ends.
going to be too many ends.
So there were 3 ends because I decided to add. I broke the yarn because I thought I was finished with the pattern, but I wanted to use up the rest of the yarn that I had. So even then, there would have only been 1 end to do. So I had 3, so I did that last night, and the lace turned out beautifully.
I
and
really like it. I have to
Yeah.
admit, when you said you were doing lace in worsted, not that I've done any lace,
Yeah.
but I did think, ooh, can you do that? Like, is it too thick?
It is thick
It
and
works,
squishy.
But it works.
Yes, and but it's lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as I don't know if we've had the Simone section yet or not, but as Simone, or was it when the 3 of us were there, Ken blocked it for me.
Yes.
Yeah, so Ken blocked it for me. Thank you, Ken.
Did a fantastic
You
job.
did, yeah, because we were pretty busy in the store today.
Even
so
though I
had time
heard
to-
him muttering, I'm not really sure what I'm doing here.
Yes, no, you did a great
You
job.
did.
Yeah, you did a great job. You got all the little points, just so, which is perfect. So now, I talked about this in the last episode. I really don't like that raw edge. Somebody
Yes, you've got the
wrote,
lace edge, the I-cord edge, and the raw
and
edge.
then you've just got the edge where you carried your yarn up, and it's very symmetrical because I moved the yarn up, like wound the yarn up every second row. So it's not that it doesn't look messy. It just, to me, you've got that beautiful lace, you've got a beautiful I-cord, and then you've got this raw edge that's the one that's up around your neck, which I'm not going for that. So a lot of people commented in the last episode because some of you figured out, which I should have figured out as well, is that you can just knit an I-cord edge on the top part.
I think I noticed that too, because I've only ever done what they call an I-cord edge, but it was done after.
An applied I-cord edge.
Applied? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, or something, whatever. So I could have, and one of the viewers actually sent me the picture of them doing that. So I could have totally done that if I had thought of it, but I was already, partway up when I decided I wasn't going to like that plain edge. So Betsy had an edge on her Karita shawl in the last episode, and it's crab stitch.
Yeah.
So I
Crochet crab stitch.
crochet crab stitch. So
That's
what?
a tongue twister.
So what I'm thinking is that it's going to probably be that. But you said there was a number of them if you Google it.
Well, that was the only one that was like kind of as solid.
Oh, okay.
But again, there are so many crochet edgings out there that
yeah.
I'm
But I
sure.
think I'll go with that because I do like that one.
And it's fairly quick and simple.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's right. And I meant to tell you though, The only catch with that one, because I read it when I started, it didn't matter for me because I did a crocheted shawl. So you might have to first do a single row of crochet before you can go into, because you need to work into that single crochet row. But I don't think it'll add a whole lot more length or anything to it. But yeah, so it is actually 2 rows of crochet. It's the single stitch that you would do, or you'll kind of chain attach it. You've done that with stencils.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you go into that to do your crab stitch.
Okay. So I will be coming to you for help if I need to. And I have an extra ball or skein of the tea rose assigned pooling yarn, which is the yarn that I'm intending to do that with. But I'm not sure if I prefer to do it in maybe the slate or if I prefer to do it in the white. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, we'll see what happens when I start to do it. And then I used up the slate and the natural, so I don't have any left. I would have to break into a whole new skein. And the skein that I have of the assigned pooling, the extra one, is one of the prototypes that we did. Yeah. So we'll see what happens, and I will let you know, because a lot of you have purchased the yarn to make this shawl, and the yarn quantities are perfect. So you need 2 skeins of the assigned pooling yarn, you need 2 skeins of the stripe color, and you need 1 skein of natural for the lace. That all works out perfectly for the shawl the way it is. But if I will let you know what happens, how much yarn I'm going to use to do the extra edges if you want to add it.
Crochet is a hungry beast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think we forgot to take a picture, but somebody was in today with the floral bouquet shawl done in the nigella, and it's really nice. I think
so. She chose crow wing.
Yes.
So a black with the nigella and then the natural.
Right. Yeah, and it's turning out beautifully. So
you'll have to show the nigella.
I'm really sorry that I forgot to take the picture while she was here. But it's turning out really nice. Yeah. So
I had a question. Someone else had asked for the I-cord if you could have done, so because you were already building the I-cord on the one side, could you have done it as you knit?
Yes.
On the other side as well.
That's what the other person that sent me the picture has done.
Okay.
So she's starting the row with the I-cord, and she's ending the row with the I-cord.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you could have done that.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh well.
And I could also knit one and apply it.
That's what I was imagining. Yeah. Okay.
So maybe, and then I can try to crochet, but it is going to. I don't have the slate at. I own the yarn store, so I could get more slate and natural if I wanted. Yeah. So I'm not too worried, but we'll just see. It's going to be not completely done yet, but I'm just going to see what happens when I do the assigned pooling, and by the next time we sit down, then we're going to know. Yeah. Okay. So, is there anything else that we need to talk about? I
think we covered all of our content.
Okay, excellent. So we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Bye. Okay. So unfortunately, the floral bouquet shawl was not. I couldn't take it off the blocking pad quite yet, so I'm sorry that you just saw a picture of it, but it's technically finished, but I will do the additions, the crochet addition, and I'll show it. I'll probably be wearing it in the next episode, so you'll have to stay tuned for that in episode 124. So we have an in the mill segment. So every now and then we visit what's happening in the mill. And this time we are going to talk about a new yarn that we'll be designing with Fleece and Harmony. And I'm sitting with both Betsy and Simone, and the 3 of us are putting our heads together to design this new yarn. And I hope you find that this segment is interesting, because we're going to take you through the process of how we would develop a new yarn. It's not developed yet, so this is just, we're at the planning stages, and then we'll run this series for a couple of podcasts so that you'll see it when it's completed, when we have the new yarn that we're designing. But these are the planning stages, so you'll hear about the conversations that we're having internally when we're planning a new yarn.
here with both the girls.
Whoa,
Simone
you just-
and Betsy. So
we need to strike that again.
God.
That was like, poof! Okay.
No, we're going.
What?
Party in the middle store.
Yeah. So this is a very okay. The producer's saying, "Calm down." Okay, we're gonna be good now. This is a very special episode of In the Mill, and the three of us are all together because we are working on a very special project, which we don't know how long it's going to take to actually get it to fruition, but we've already started it, so it should be. I think we're going to go fast. Betsy's pretty motivated, I can tell already.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, what's that phrase, dog with a bone or whatever?
Yeah. And Simone and I have already talked about a couple options. So I think so just to give a little bit of sort of how we're working together, the three of us, and is that Betsy's doing all of the dyeing. So she's dyeing all of the colors. So everything that you're getting, Betsy is doing that. She's the one that came up with the different tests for the colors for the Rioux kit, for example, and things like that. And Simone is doing spinning. So we're going through all the different ways that we spin and things like that. She already has experience spinning, so she's not starting from scratch, but we do things a little bit differently here and have different recipes for our yarns. And Simone is also a very accomplished hand spinner, both on a wheel and on a drop spindle. And so she knows a lot of the technicalities about yarn.
Yes.
Betsy knows color theory and doing the recipes for the colors and everything.
Nothing about spinning whatsoever.
Right. So the three of us are going to, we're designing a new yarn for Fleece and Harmony. So I've talked about the Wild Winds pasture before, which is a farm on Prince Edward Island that has quite a large flock of sheep. They're a mix of old breeds and a newer breed, but they're what I would call a hardy sheep. And they were the breeds of sheep were specifically chosen for this farm to be hardy because it is a completely outdoor operation. So the sheep live outdoors all the time. So the breed selection for this flock was very important because they had to be a type of sheep that could stand some weather. But having said that, they're outdoors, but they're not without shelter. And they live in what I call the Forest Cathedral. Betsy loves it when I call it that. So I've described it before, and I'm going to describe it again because we have lots of new viewers. The farmer that runs this flock has very thick and lush hedgerows on the perimeter of the fields where the sheep are pastured. And he has trimmed all of the low branches it's mostly spruce trees.
Okay.
So it's mostly spruce trees. So they really mesh and make kind of a roof over the sheep. And he has taken all of the lower branches off up to about the point. He's taller than I am, and I think it just clears his head. So he can walk in there under the branches. But because the hedgerows are so tightly meshed together, the canopy is so tightly meshed together, it creates this room in the middle of the forest, which is completely natural. And I went in there and I said, Adam, I want to move in there.
I haven't seen it, but every time you describe it, I'm like, I want to just pitch a yurt and call that home. It sounds amazing.
Yes. Yeah. And he, when they're not, so they have access to the pasture right from their little forest home. And even in the winter, it doesn't really snow. The snow doesn't really filter all the way down through there because the canopy is so lush. And he puts the hay in there, and then there is a bed of hay underneath. So
and I imagine there'd be like pine needles would kind of probably build up a bit under there, or not so bad.
No, not really, because it's like spruce. It's spruce, so it doesn't really draw.
Pine.
And it's really, really nice, and we love it. However, the wool from those sheep is very different than the fleeces that we get that we spin in our Selkirk worsted or our signature Aran or that we use. That comes from a different farm with a different breed of sheep completely. So we made the Wild Winds yarn to be used for the Salbu patterns, was the original inspiration for that yarn. So it's a very fine yarn that really, I used the descriptions of the yarns that they used in those old Scandinavian patterns to design that yarn. And it's a 2-ply. And we had Arna and Carlos here who actually have knit with the yarn from Salbu, and they gave the thumbs up on it. So we thought, it was a guess of how it was supposed to be because I read a description and then designed the yarn. However, that's a very specific kind of spin that I did for that yarn to make those intricate Norwegian patterns. What we wanted to do is we wanted to create a yarn that could be used for traditional color work or Fair Isle knitting. And that would be something, you could definitely use the Wild Winds for that, but we wanted to do something that's a little bit different. So the three of us have been working together to come up with a design for the new yarn that we're going to make from the Wild Winds flock. We don't know what it's going to be called yet.
You usually get the inspiration for that.
Yes. So we can't call it kind of Wild Winds for the other one was kind of easy because that's what the flock is called. But we'll have to come up with something else.
Yep.
And the yarn will be slightly different. And Simone and I will work first on doing the design of the yarn. And there's all kinds of things that have to go into that. It's not just like, let's just spin something. we want to take into account the texture of the fleece and how tight we want to twist it. Right. Do we want to make it a 2-ply or a 3-ply? How it will be fine because we'll try to base it on some of those yarns that have traditionally been used for Fair Isle. So it's got to be like a light. It'll be a fingering weight, right, for sure. Yeah. And Simone, I'm going to count on Simone's knowledge because she does a lot of hand spinning. And I asked her a few questions about that, the fleece fleeces that are coming from the Wild Winds pasture. And you're going to talk to us today about the handle and a description of the fleece. So we know we will take our cues from the fleece to design the yarn. Yeah. So describe the Wild Winds fleece.
The Wild Winds fleece is unlike anything I've ever worked with before.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of a fun thing. It's got that rustic, and we were going to talk about this as well, rustic feel to it. And rustic doesn't mean, the 1970s scratchy yarn at all anymore. Generally rustic now is a connotation of, non-superwash, kind of toothy wool that's,
untreated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's in its natural form. So with this particular fleece, the lock structure is shorter. So a lock is, how long the hair, for lack of a better term, of the sheep is, the wool. And it doesn't have a ton of crimp to it. So if you picture, hair in the 1980s, it doesn't look like that. Yeah. Which, our usual does.
The crimping iron.
Yeah, exactly. Our usual fleeces have that,
very
crimpy, lovely crimp to it.
Yeah.
These have a totally different texture. Ken has mentioned before that, it kind of has a feel more like a bast fiber, it has like a slightly cotton feel whenever you're just playing with the locks as is. But once it's spun and knit and washed, it blooms beautifully. It gets very soft, and you can still tell that it's going to be a good hardy, well-wearing wool. Yeah.
Interestingly enough, too, I haven't spun with it or anything, but doing the skirting part, that's the initial sorting of which parts you're keeping and which you're not. Right. It has its own smell.
It does. It smells like the woods. It's amazing.
And even right when it's in the vat and we're washing it, the steam in the air smells different than our other stuff. I remember when it first came in the door, we were all like, what what is that? And
Yeah.
then you realize it's this
We
wool.
know that
Yeah.
we can,
Yeah.
it's funny. Yeah. And the so if anybody that's watching that has knit with our traditional yarns that we've been making, like the Selkirk worsted or the Aran signature Aran, it's very bouncy.
Yeah.
And that comes from the fact that the Rioux Arcot is the breed that we spin mostly, and that it has a lot of this particular flock that we get wool from, or those fleeces from, has a lot of crimp. It also has a lot of luster.
Yes.
So it has a very smooth, and when you, it's bouncy, but when you knit with it at a slightly tighter gauge, it actually has a drapiness to it.
It does.
So the Wild Winds fleece will have some of that, but it won't be the same as the Selkirk worsted. It's
Right.
more matte.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Betsy's going to talk about how that's going to affect the color that we choose. And it just has a different feel,
It
right,
does.
Simone? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the questions that we're asking ourselves, so if you're wondering, like, so what? So what do you,
What's this got to do with us?
yeah, what are we going to, like, how does that affect what we're going to do with it? And what it will do, we'll spin some small samples. We're going to decide what the twists per inch will be. So anybody that's a hand spinner or knows about the production of yarn will know that that's the tightness of each of the plies.
Yeah.
Then that dictates a little bit how tight the yarn is plied.
Yeah.
And that will affect the amount of bloom that
Yes.
we'll get, and after it's blocked, the amount of softness it will have. So we'll try to we'll have some kind of an idea in mind. We already have an idea in mind. And we're going to try to hit those goals.
Yes.
And it's going to be, the plies are going to be pretty fine. So it does need to have some strength, but we don't want to have it over twist it, because it makes it a little bit ropey if you're not careful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what Simone and I will be working on together.
Right.
And once we get that all sorted out, we'll hand it over to Betsy, and Betsy's going to select the color selection.
So I think we can mention that
Yeah.
we're gonna go for a heathered look.
Right.
So maybe one of you can describe sort of the initial spinning, what happens for the spinning part, or the initial setup for that heathering, because that will definitely play into what colors we choose, and then again, kind of how those colors end up applied to the yarn and what happens once they are.
Right.
It's up to me.
Go ahead.
So what's heathering and how does it work?
Yeah. Okay, so heathering kind of starts at the carder. We're going to process a certain number of cans in a natural white, and then we were planning to dye another percentage of the cans in a light gray color. And once these cans are met at the draw frame, this introduces a little tiny strip of gray into your otherwise white yarn, and it will give you kind of a subtlety to the colors that you choose, and it also might tone down the brighter colors a little bit, give them kind of an over dyed textures look almost.
Right.
So
but still smooth.
Right. Yes. So our regular yarn will often have, because it's hand dyed, it'll have what we call a tonal effect to it. So you might get some spots that are a little darker and some others that are a little lighter, which is why we always encourage to alternate your skeins, so that all just blends together. And some of our colors are purposely, we want that highlighted more than others, and other times we work to make it kind of as smooth and blended as possible. Yeah. So with the heathering, this is going to happen ideally no matter what, because that gray section is going to take the dye a little different than the lighter white sections will. And as well as what Simone was saying, so because there's that bit of gray in there already, it's going to, again, this is all ideally, we haven't actually tried it yet, it's going to sort of melt everything down to a slightly warmer, softer kind of color and look. Muted. That's it.
Muted.
A little more muted.
So for color work, the color changes give a subtlety that you don't have when you have like pure bright colors. And I should say the flock is mostly white. The white, there's not a lot of black sheep in this flock, and there are a few though, and we use the black, the natural black, we use that in the Wild Winds to make the natural black and the natural gray as much as we can. So in this case, because we expect that we'll be making much larger quantities of this yarn, we will be dyeing the gray using our greener shade dyes, which are got certified for organic textile treatment. So that's what we're going to do, so we can also control the amount of gray a little bit better. So
we've kind of laid out a bit of a palette today, but the reality is we won't really know how those play together until we actually get it on the yarn. So we have an idea, and kind of the inspiration that I just worked from was straight from the color wheel. So just wanting to hit all of those basic colors, you need a red, a blue, a purple, a green, a yellow, a brown, kind of covering them all. But then that gray that runs through them will ideally kind of marry them all together so that you can use them all together, or you could just pick and choose a few from that line that you want to use in a project.
Right. And I think we were very excited when we tried this first with the Heatherdale Lopi. So and you can go back and look at I'll put what episode we talked about that on below, but when we started seeing what Betsy was dyeing with over dyeing with those, because there's no pure white.
No.
So they all had the impact that it had on color was making us all very excited.
Because it's fun.
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
Yes.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
So that kind of, we have a little bit of an idea of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And what'll end up happening, we don't know how many colors are in the range, but I think we're somewhere around 16.
Something
Gives enough variety without...
Depend on what happens when we actually start putting the dye on.
And they all should go together. So whatever color tone, and Simone is great at choosing colors, so she'll be doing the spinning, but Betsy and Simone were playing a little bit today with the color and making sure. And you've knit a lot of Fair Isle sweaters. With multiple colors.
And I need Simone to keep me and remind me that there's folks who like the warmer, earthier tones, because otherwise I would just dye everything in jewel tones.
Mostly pink.
Yeah. But I start seeing her combinations, and it's amazing. So it is fun I love having our pairing here where we all pairing trio, whatever. The three of us, because we all kind of gravitate to different colors. Simone's are more warm, earthy tones. Kim loves the purples and reds. And I like the brights. Sometimes I'll put things like pink and orange. Well, that's coming together. So it's fun to see kind of put all of our input together. Combine colors.
So that's what the team's working on.
Yes.
So you have to stay tuned. So next episode we'll have a little bit of the results, or where we'll give a progress report at least.
At very least, we'll hopefully have something spun.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we'll keep you updated. So the next few episodes we'll have in the mill segments, and it'll be about the new yarns, whatever it's going to be called, that will be designed for Fleece and Harmony.
Yes.
Okay. Yay. See you. Bye. Okay, so that's going to be a pretty exciting project. We can hardly wait. We haven't done like a new yarn that will be a regular yarn in the catalog for quite some time. We've done different things with specialty spins that we do, but this will be a new line that we'll be carrying all the time in the shop. So it's going to be a pretty exciting project. So as usual, at this point in the podcast, I do a little bit of an update about the Prince Edward Island Fibre Festival. So we will be having a Fibre Festival here in Prince Edward Island on October 5th to the 7th. And that will be held in Charlottetown at the Delta Hotel in downtown Charlottetown. We have some fantastic workshops that are going on. Some of them are starting to sell out. So if you're interested, you think you might be interested in coming to the Fibre Festival, you should check out the workshops before the ones that you might be interested in are sold out. We have Kristen Drysdale coming she's the author of the Nordic Knitting Primer and a designer that I've knit some designs from. So she's going to do a couple classes. Patty Lyons will be doing a number of classes as well. So we're pretty excited about that. And then after that, we have lots of other really great workshops. We have spinning workshops. We have needle felting workshops. knitting workshops. Sue Matton from the Mercerie, which is the designer behind the Wallflower blanket, which I have talked about in past episodes and will be talking about again because I haven't finished my blanket yet. So that's next on my list to finish. She's coming from the UK and she's doing a class on crochet, but she's also doing two classes. They're the same class, but we've asked her to do it twice on color theory and choosing colors for your project. So although her main craft is crochet, these classes are generic color choosing classes. So you're going to do some exercise. So that's good for knitters or crocheters. And we have Mikey from the crochet crowd that's coming as well for crocheters. So there's all kinds of things going on. But besides the crafting items, we have entertainment on one of the nights for the Fibre Festival, and it's called the Harbor Hullabaloo. And this will be an evening of entertainment and a local fair food that we will be featuring the Pendergasts, which are a pretty famous family here on Prince Edward Island. They will be telling stories and sharing music that's like a cultural thing here in the Maritimes. So you can check that out. It's pretty limited. I think there's only 95 tickets available. But if you take a look at that on the Fibre Festival website, the menu has now been posted about what we're going to be sharing at the event. And we have oysters and we have chowder and we have biscuits, like all traditional foods that we would eat around here. And then there's a good variety of different things. If seafood's not your thing, there's other options there as well. So that sounds like it's going to be a fantastic evening. And also in the hotel on Thursday night and the Friday night, we will be having a sip and stitch lounge in the hotel. So if you're not able to make it to the Harbor Hullabaloo or you just want to sit and knit in the hotel, we will have activities there, a place to knit and have some community with fellow knitters in the mezzanine of the hotel, and where people can gather together and knit together. So check out the Fibre Festival, and if you just Google PEI Fibre Festival, you'll get a link to the website and you can see what's going on there. There's also a newsletter that you can subscribe to, and you'll be updated on things that are happening about the ticket sales and the marketplace. Of course, there's a marketplace as well. What would a yarn festival be without a lot of yarn and fiber? So there is information about the tickets for the marketplace as well. So I hope we'll see a lot of you at the Fibre Festival. And I think that's it for today. So we're going to head over to the Harmony part. As I mentioned, we're going to go look at a beautiful tulip field, and I'll pick out some beautiful, relaxing music to ease you out of the podcast. And I hope that in the next 2 weeks you have a wonderful experience doing whatever it is that you do for crafting and relaxation. And I wish you joy in whatever it is that you're making over the next 2 weeks. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time. So enjoy the Harmony part. Bye.